All right, now we need to find out which reflection occurred here. So we need to decide between the different reflections that we've learned. Okay, so we've learned reflection over the x, y axis. We've reflected over diagonals, which is y equals x and y equals negative x. And we've reflected over horizontal lines. So if it's over and vertical lines, so if it's over a vertical, could be y equals -2, or a horizontal line. So we have x equals 5. All right, so we have these three options. We have x, y, and we need to find out which one this is. One of these here. So the best way to go about this is to find the midpoint. So we're going to look for the pre-image and the image for one point, the closest point here. So right here at C is probably the best ones to look at here. So we're going to look for the midpoint of the pre-image and the image C prime. Okay, so let's look at that real quick. So the midpoint looks right about there. All right, so the distance between those two is right about here at that midpoint. Okay, so I'm going to draw a line right through that midpoint. It looks like a perfect place to draw a diagonal line. So I'm going to draw that, and of course the diagonal has to start from the corners, right? So we can't start like at any other point. So right here, we can't like draw a diagonal like that, okay? So let's go ahead and draw that diagonal. Now, which side does this diagonal start on? It starts on the right side. So remember I said the best way to remember where to draw that diagonal is if it's, if you're right, it feels great, it's positive. So that would be a positive x. Y equals positive x. Okay, so what we have here is simply, this is our positive x diagonal. Y equals positive x, because diagonals follow that rule. Now it could have been on the other side and it would have been y equals negative x, but we have a diagonal here. So that is y equals x. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. All right, so let's try another one. Again, we want to find the midpoint. Okay, so on the next one, let's look for the midpoint. So now we have, this is pretty easy. These are easier to find. See these R's? That's probably the easiest place to find the midpoint. There is our midpoint between the pre-image and the image. So I'm going to draw a line right through that midpoint. And I'm going to crisscross applesauce, and then we'll know which axis that midpoint went through. So I'm going to do this because remember it crisscrosses. So we have a line drawn through, that is the x-axis, okay? But where on the x-axis is this point right here, okay? So we know that we have a x equals, okay? And anything, so we have our 0, 0, home right here, right? So let's count 1, 2, 3, and it's to the left, so that's -3. That is x -3. So we find the x-axis, we draw on the -3, and we draw the line through. That's what I taught you when we are reflecting over it. So all we did is go backwards by first focusing on that midpoint between the pre-image and the image. So let's check out another one. Again, let's look for the midpoint. Now this is easy peasy. Here's your midpoint, right? Let's draw the line through it. And isn't that your y-axis? So this is a reflection over y. Reflection over y-axis. So let's check another. Look for the midpoint. So let's take the letters closer to one another, and we've got y and y. So the midpoint looks like it's right here. Okay. So this is not a diagonal. Now, as you can see, it's just off from the axis. So let's see which axis it crossed over. It crossed over the X. Crisscross applesauce. So what we have here is X equals, and this is, oh my bad. Let me just go backwards, ignore everything I just did. Okay, so we have the midpoints right here. Let's draw a line through it. My bad. This is our X. Thing is, the X and the Y weren't marked, so I got twisted is what happened. Okay, this is our Y. So now I'm going to draw a line, because that line of reflection crisscrosses over one of the axes, and that's the one we write. So that crisscrossed over the Y. So it's Y equals, and let's look, our 0, 0 point is right here. So we go up 1, that means we went up positive 1. So that's Y equals 1. Let's look for another midpoint. Looks like a diagonal to me. All right, the midpoint between B and B prime looks to be right there. So you got 1, boom, 1, boom. All right, so let's go ahead and draw that line of reflection diagonal through. As you can see, this is on the left side. So that means if it's a diagonal, it's Y. And if it's on the left side, it's negative X. Or change X. Or change both X and Y. When you write it out, it would be change Y, change X. That'll create that diagonal. Let's look again. All right, this is easy to find. Every point, let's look at this. Every point, if we did T, the midpoint's here. If we did V, the midpoint's here. And all the midpoint is right here. So our line of reflection is this. And that is the x-axis. And whenever it's the axis, well, I mean, that's it. The midpoint is the x-axis. So this is a reflection over the x-axis. Now get used to looking at these. You need to know what a reflection looks like. On the test, on the quiz, you're going to be asked what kind of reflection is shown in the figure. You need to be able to see what it is. Is it a reflection? And if it's a reflection, is it over the x? Is it over the y? Is it a diagonal, which means it's y equals either negative x or positive x? And then if it's a horizontal, just like this, but it's not on the x-axis, it's either above or below it, then you need to crisscross it, find out that it is, let's say, 1 over the y-axis, so it's y equals 1. So get familiar with those. Again, I'm going to write them out. We are either reflecting, so reflection, you have your choices. You're going to choose whether it's to reflect over the x-axis, meaning the midpoint is between the is on the x-axis, or it will land on the y-axis between the image and pre-image. Or you may have a diagonal. So the diagonals are always going to be y and y. But it's going to be either diagonal from the left, which is going to be negative x, or the diagonal will be, so here's the left, it'll start there, boom, or it'll be right, which is positive x, boom. Okay, and lastly, you may have it's crossing over the x at the -3, or it might be crossing over the y at a +5. And that's where, let's say, if we were to cross over the x, you see the x here? Let's say it's right here. We're crossing over right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that would be crossing over x at -6. Okay?